How we doing, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. Got a lot to speak on, man, ranging from all kinds of topics around the sports world. We got news about Alvin Kamara, not the best news. We're going to talk about some salty Eagles fans. We're going to talk about the New York Giants inking one of their surprise players from the previous year. Got a lot. And Zappy's actually going to open it up, man. We got Zappy's quick hits.
The quick
That it, man. Start punching. Mike Zappy, Idris and I in the building. Start punching.
Let's go. Well, hey, what's going on, Rich? I mean, a lot of things to talk about that's going on in the NFL right now, but not so much as to that can be topics, but things that we need to mention for sure. I'm going to start off firstly with, we know that Calvin Ridley was suspended for the illegal gambling that was going on as he was an Atlanta Falcon. He was traded, of course, to the Jacksonville Jaguars, but he is applying for reinstatement to be ready and hopefully be joining the Jaguars this upcoming season. We'll find out shortly if the reinstatement will happen by Roger Goodell, but from what I've read and heard, that there should be no reason why he's not reinstated. He has done everything he has been asked to do. And then moving it over to the Chicago Bears, we got two things to talk about here. Justin Fields being the first one, as obviously we just got done with the Senior Bowl last week. Many of the general managers across the league feel that the Chicago Bears are going to listen and trade Justin Fields. To who that begins to, that's the unknown right now, but brings up the topic. Justin Fields was not a top 10 quarterback. What was he, number 19, I believe he was. And then you talk about the likes of a CJ Stroud, a Will Levis, or even Bryce Young. So it's one of those, if you have the number one pick and you can get yourself a premier quarterback like that, do you actually pull the trigger, or do you continue to build that defense and keep Justin Fields in place? So that's something that we need to monitor. The other thing we need to monitor is something that, if you're a fan of the NFL and have been a fan of football for a very long time, is we might be seeing an end to Soldier Field a lot sooner than we think, as the Chicago Bears have, in fact, purchased the 326-acre Arlington Park for $197.2 million. What I've seen across the league from players is, hey, as long as it's a dome, we don't care where we play. So it tells me they're tired of the cold weather.
They're going to follow Minnesota's lead, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those that, as we're seeing more cold weather places turn to the domes, but it's just one of those. Soldier Field has been around for such a long time that we don't want to see it go, but at the same time, it's such an old stadium that it makes sense. Right. Now, taking it over to Denver, Colorado, I have been seeing that the Denver Broncos are apparently going to be putting a big name starter on the trade block. No name has been released yet, but there's three names that come to mind for me. The first one is the least likely, but it makes sense because of it would acquire a lot of draft capital, and that's Patrick Surtain. Obviously, he was a top 10 draft pick in the NFL draft 2 years ago. It was obviously a Dallas Cowboy target. He was taken right after J.C. Horn. So that's the one that I think is the least likely, but it is also possible because of the simple fact that a guy like him could definitely net you a first and possibly a third-round pick. The other two players that come to mind are Jerry Jeudy. As we already know, Jerry Jeudy was involved with trade talks last year, with the Giants being one of the teams that were trying to acquire him. But the one that makes the most sense is actually safety Justin Simmons. He's now 30 years old. He did sign a nice lucrative deal, but it's one of those situations that you now have Sean Payton in the door, and he needs some sort of draft capital to be able to build on what they have, especially if he is going to move forward with Russell Wilson. Well, he kind of has no choice. But that's what's coming out of Denver. And the last two notes I'm going to make are coming out of the NFC East. The first one I'm going to talk about is about my Cowboys. According to Ezekiel Elliott's agent, he's going to use the combine that is quickly coming up to decide what Zeke's worth is. I think he's going to use by determining, looking at the running backs there are. Bijan Robinson has been linked to Dallas, so is Jahmyr Gibbs. So we'll see. And it goes to tell, because Zeke already said he's willing to take a pay cut to remain a Cowboy, but of course agents always do what they do. And if he doesn't take enough of a pay cut, does this mean that the Zeke's time in Dallas is coming to an end, as it's already expected that we will be tagging Tony Pollard? And lastly, It's one of those, is there some sort of turmoil going on in Philly? After the Super Bowl loss, we saw what happened. Both their OC and DC in Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon have departed the city of brotherly love. Shane Steichen going off to Indianapolis to sign to become their new head coach, while Jonathan Gannon going off to Arizona to team up with Kyler Murray and become their new head coach. So that's all the news I have right now. A lot of topics, like I said, but just little quick hits I wanted to bring up.
I'm not going to elaborate out of just a certain respect, but yeah, there's a few things going on with that Philly coaching staff that, that's all I'm going to say there.
Same here.
Yeah,
I concur.
Yeah,
More that.
Oh man. So since we're on the topic of the team that we all hate the most, the salty Eagles. Many Eagles fans blaming the refs for their Super Bowl loss. Okay. Oh man. All over social media, it appears that the only call that was blown the whole game was the final call of the game on James Bradberry, because James Bradberry apparently didn't hold, I don't know, about an hour and a half earlier in the game that ended a Chiefs drive. There have been photos surfacing of a face mask on Jalen Hurts. I get it. But guys, they swallowed those whistles on so many holding penalties that could have been called on not just the Eagles, both sides.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, when you score 28 points in the second half, 28 points, and when you have a defense that is chasing the 85 Bears to break an all-time sack record, and you don't record one sack, I don't want to hear about the refs.
I don't hear about it.
I don't want to hear about Sirianni screaming at coaches. There may be one coordinator that he may have wanted to light up. Personally, I don't think it should have been the wide receiver coach. But what do I know? I mean, last time I checked, the defense were the ones that were getting their doors blown off. Mm-hmm. I think that the early score, it was kind of a masking job of keeping Patrick Mahomes off the field. Shout out to Brett. Brett was correct on saying that was going to go down. He did nail that. I got to say that, as did Zappy with the Kadarius Toney shout.
That was a nail right there.
Yeah, he certainly did. Yeah, and if Toney returns that punt as opposed to getting stopped at the 6 or 7 or whatever, he's probably your MVP. Another thing with these Eagle fans is cracking me up. They're lining up Jalen stats next to Patrick stats.
Right.
And it seems like they're only focusing on the yardage. I'm like, guys, he was on the field a lot longer.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, you guys should be more bothered that Mahomes had those numbers when you consider that they had one score on defense, another score that was almost a score on special teams. You kept them off the field. The Eagles had the ball 12 more minutes than the Chiefs in that game. But, the fans have been definitely complaining, for lack of a better word. They are in their feelings in a big way about feeling like they got screwed.
They did not get screwed. All right. So first of all, when it comes to James Bradberry, normally when you're a player that feels like you get screwed, you talk about it in your post-game press conference.
Which he did not.
Right. And well, he did talk about it, but instead he said, I held him. It was the right call.
I held him, and I was hoping they'd let it slide.
And rightfully so. NFL Films has the perfect angle. But I will say on that exact same play, that play should have been nullified, and it should have been a replay down, because when James Bradberry held, if you look at the left tackle, he had some illegal hands to the face to whoever the defensive end that was rushing on that play. And it was very obvious. And I didn't notice it until that NFL Films clip. But look, there's been two in our Super Bowl era, 2 teams that have blown double-digit leads going into the second half. The first one is, of course, those Atlanta Falcons that had Matt Ryan as their quarterback, who happens to be from Philly, and, of course, your Philadelphia Eagles. No, you don't blow a big lead like that. So
the Ravens are next? So who? What, the Ravens are next, or the Seahawks?
Hey,
who knows,
look
man?
at it. The thing about that,
feather, as I say, birds of a feather. Go ahead.
yeah, I would say, both teams had birds on their helmets too.
Yeah.
So, the way I see it is this way. Okay, Bradbury didn't, when he was on the field, he didn't even act like he didn't even flip out like, oh my God, he knew they got him.
He knew right away. Yeah.
People, and I'm one not to defend the refs because I know us Giant fans, we got shafted plenty of times. A lot of times against the Eagles.
Yeah.
A lot of times against the Eagles. We've lost, yeah. So it's easy to go back and look at a film, Eagle fans, and say, oh, did you see this? When you're slowing the film down to 0.0001 milliseconds. Say, look at that. You see that? The referees see the stuff in real time. They don't have the benefit of the
28-11 was the second half score. They can cry, they can bitch, and they can moan all they want.
14 at halftime. They missed the field goal.
It's bothering me, bro, because they're not
this lead. You got this defense. Like you said, you got this defense that was challenging the 85 Bears, and you couldn't get a sack on a quarterback on a
bad ankle.
Which, you know what? Hats off to Eric Bieniemy. Yeah. He's obviously been one of the OCs that is long overdue to be a head coach. Yeah. But that offensive game plan to keep Patrick Mahomes standing the whole game. Granted, Patrick was running on a very bad ankle.
He has an interview to join the Commanders, by the way.
Yeah, but as an OC.
Yeah, as an OC.
And
but the thing is,
I don't want to see it.
But the reason why it might be an upgraded situation for Bieniemy is that, number one, Ron Rivera is not far from retirement, and number two, he's on a short leash because he didn't know that. We already discussed that. The other thing is, Bieniemy would be in a position to call the plays, where in case it's actually Andy Reid. He has a lot of creative control, so to speak. But Reid calls the plays. Carrying it over with more Salty Bird news, Juju and AJ's Twitter war of words and our thoughts. With Valentine's Day that recently passed, Juju was having a little fun.
That was cold-blooded.
Yeah, with the "We'll hold you," putting James Bradbury's photo up there. Then AJ Brown had. Yeah.
That was funny though.
AJ Brown had to put in his 2 cents. And at the end of the day, man, when you lose the game, it doesn't matter. It's over. You lost.
They can't play it.
Yeah, you can't replay it. You can't. You're not gonna win.
No,
you're not gonna win. And Juju played a pretty good game.
I thought it was funny, and it irks me because these athletes are so sensitive now.
Yeah,
you got another man coming to the rescue of another man because one guy is having fun.
Meanwhile, the man he's defending probably received a nice check from the Giants for sabotaging the Eagles' season.
Right.
What if this? I just think it's great how Tony and Bradbury completely changed the trajectory of who was going to win that game.
Joel Shane.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
If Bradbury comes back next year, that's even going to be more of an ongoing joke. And as we speak about Big Blue, Giants brought back their biggest long shot, man. Isaiah Hodgins, who started the year on the Buffalo practice squad, his coming out party was Christmas Eve against the Minnesota Vikings. Giants lost that game, and as I like to say, you ruined our Christmas, but we ended your season.
Right.
But yeah, Isaiah Hodgins, especially with the release of Sterling Shepard, which was yesterday, and this happened today, I think it signals the end for sure that they're probably not going to restructure Shepard. You got Richie James that's earned the right to be on the team.
Yeah.
And he's going to man down the slot position, I would think, until Wan'Dale Robinson returns healthy. But this was an in-house solution at a bargain.
Yeah.
Happy about this move. Hard not to be.
I'm happy for it because he came out of nowhere, dude.
Yeah.
He came out of nowhere. And you threw in the ball he was open. I mean, when I first seen it, I said, who is this guy?
Over time, I was waiting for him to come back to earth. But the truth is, he was legitimately just consistent. Like, he had a couple of blow-up games, But I think the biggest reason that told the organization this guy is a keeper, number one, you had him on a very cheap situation because, like I said, he came off of Buffalo's practice squad. And I think it speaks volumes as to what Buffalo thought they had in the receiving room, that they let this guy just basically get away.
Yeah.
And it's good. I mean, obviously Brian Dable knew the kind of player he was, having been a part of Buffalo's organization. So I think it works out good. Now the Giants are going to probably look for a receiver to pair with him, whether that's through free agency or the draft remains to be seen. But I'm happy for Isaiah Hodgins. It's good to see the long shots make an impact like that.
Yeah.
No, I think a move like this to go along with the Sterling Shepard moves tells me that there's three names that come to mind going into the offseason. That's D-Hop, obviously, OBJ, and Jerry Jeudy. And then, of course, going into the draft, you talk about the guys like Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jordan Addison, or, there's a couple of names that make sense. So I think, yes, you guys will draft the receiver, but if you go out and get yourself one of those three guys, then it allows you to go defense, to go get yourself a cornerback in the first round, and then go receiver in the second round, or O-line, whatever the case may be for the Giants. So this move tells me that you guys are going to focus on the receiver position in free agency or via a trade. But it was a good move, because if you look at the chemistry that Daniel Jones and Isaiah Hodgins had together, it was very good for a short period of time of playing together.
I could see the Giants in a trade, if it's for the right receiver, moving off that first round pick, because that first round pick is towards the end of the round.
Yeah. It's like 24, I think.
Yeah, it really depends on if you like what's on the board. And that is debatable. They could also trade back. That might not be the worst move either. It really just depends on what the Giants think they can get at that spot. Here's another guy that's constantly been traded. I think Kyrie is actually going to be retained in Dallas.
I think
Has he actually found a home now? And maybe Mark Cuban can get out of him what nobody else could, which is essentially a commitment of a trust of stability.
I think with Kyrie. Oh, good, Zach.
No, I'm just laughing at what he said. Go ahead.
I think with Kyrie.
I don't even know if it made sense what I just said, but I think you know what I mean.
Yeah, we know what you mean, but I don't think it makes sense, though. I think with Kyrie, the guy can play ball. I mean,
for sure.
Mad game. It's just he seems to always find some type of cause so he could take some time off from work.
Here's a way.
He always finds a way to take a vacation.
You keep saying that. I'm gonna. You're painting Kyrie like me now.
You too. Yeah.
Look,
we'll talk about that on another show. That's his problem. He's not available for work. He's just like OBJ. Great player, but he's just not available to work.
Yeah.
Take it away, Zach.
I was going to look. We saw him with Cleveland. We saw him with Boston. We saw him with Brooklyn.
Boston. That was a shit.
And now he's. Oh, I think he played maybe like 5 minutes. I don't know.
Yeah, about 2 games.
And then we see him now with Dallas. He's looked good. Yeah. And I think he's going to be re-signed. However, what I do think is going to happen is 2 things. You have to convince him to stay by bringing in someone else. The one guy that comes to mind, which is what this Mavericks team needs, is Anthony Davis. If you can bring in an Anthony Davis into that lineup, give them a big man to spread the court even more.
Bro, do you know how funny that would be?
Yeah.
That's why I put my logo up.
That LeBron's guy ends up with Kyrie after all this?
Well, I think the LeBron Anthony Davis marriage is coming to an end.
The unibrow looking for a new destination.
They don't need anyone in Dallas selling suits.
Best unibrow since Al B. Shore.
Exactly. We don't need anyone selling suits in Dallas.
The one thing, the team I think they got to watch out for is Phoenix. What's going to happen with Chris Paul after this season? If this team, when they get Kevin Durant in the lineup, if this team cannot produce and get into the finals, then all right, maybe it is Chris Paul, which we've seen time and time again throughout Chris Paul's career.
Mhm.
So you listen to the words of Kevin Durant saying, "I was shocked when we traded Kyrie Irving. I was shocked that he requested a trade."
Come on, bro.
But I think they still want to play together. I just don't think they want to play in Brooklyn together. They tried, it failed. But I think those are the two scenarios you're going to see play out.
I tell you, bro, it's remarkable. This dude played with Harden and Westbrook too. He reunites with Harden in Brooklyn. That was a nightmare. The one comical thing about all this is that after all the dust clears, you still have Ben Simmons stuck in Brooklyn now.
Right, Mr. I don't.
Ben Simmons is an afterthought. That guy he's an afterthought.
And then Harden dropping his 2 cents, like if he's the old wise man, maybe now people will see that I didn't quit. I'm like, nah, bro, you were the first quitter. That doesn't absolve you from being a D-bag. Because the one and only time in KD's career where I could truly say that I empathized with him was the year that he stepped on the line when he should have beat Milwaukee. Milwaukee was the eventual champs.
Yeah.
But, after just seeing his raging sensitivity, I'm like, nah, I don't feel that bad. It's comical. So, once again, and it takes me back to a better time in the NBA, Charles Barkley's not calling Michael Jordan and Patrick Ewing and all these other cats and like, oh, well, I don't know if it works here, guys. Like they tried the Scottie Pippen experiment late in Barkley's career with Olajuwon. Olajuwon and Barkley were both aging. Pippen was just trying to get in where he fit in. Ultimately, that place was Portland.
Right.
But when you look at all of it, it's just comical. It's like, guys, just play together and do something while you're actually – I think the thing that turned me off with KD, and I could give 2 damns about Brooklyn.
Yeah, me too.
But they invested in him when he wasn't able to play, when he recovered from that injury in the NBA Finals that the Warriors lost to the Toronto Raptors. So your thank you to that organization is everything that came with that. And I think it speaks volumes about not just the character or lack thereof of those 3, but it's a temperature of more times than not today's NBA athlete.
You know what I think about that, man? I think the worst thing these guys did was decide to join up with each other. I say that because
and I'm sorry, LeBron birthed that. They can talk about Boston's big 3. That wasn't the same thing. Those guys were all aging.
They were all tail end of their career.
And you can't say Kobe and Shaq when they got Malone and Peyton because it's a similar situation. Those guys were getting old.
And they was trying to.
That was a one-off that they were trying to sneak one last one in.
Because, see, you know what? They play together. Their stats are going to be inflated because you got 3 superstars.
Yes.
They don't want to be leaders. That's why I respect the old game.
You look at KD. He lost in 7 games to the Warriors after having a 3-1 lead.
Right.
So what does he do? Most competitors on the shit that we grew up on, they're going to work harder. They want to get back. They want to get at him. No, let me join him now.
Right.
I'm like, bro, like, what?
That's why I'm glad Golden State won again.
Yeah, he hasn't won without Curry. He hasn't won without Curry. But Curry's won without him.
Right. That's why I say these guys, that's why I respect the old game, because even though Kobe said he would like to play with Jordan, he didn't.
Yeah. Well, Mike was on the way out.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to compare, sorry, Idris, I'll say it after you.
No. That was it. Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, if you really want to talk about Jordan adding a super team where the players he played with were majority through the draft. Horace Grant drafted by the Chicago Bulls. Scottie Pippen drafted by the Chicago Bulls.
Right.
But if that would have been the case, he would have brought Larry Bird, Magic Johnson over to join him.
Easy.
You know that those are.
He did do that, but it was to win our country a gold medal.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's why they have that every 4 years.
Right.
It's for that exact reason, for those superstars. That's why there's the All-Star game. So you get that moment to show once a year what you guys would look like together. And then every 4 years, you get the best.
And even with the All-Star game, I'm over that too. What happened to the West play in the East?
Yeah. Right.
I don't even watch diluting like everything. I'm just like, guys,
stop watching the All-Star game. These guys, and then they say, oh, yes, old man energy. No, the players in the 90s wanted to beat each other.
Yeah, there's something to be said about it.
Bird wanted to beat Magic. Jordan wanted to beat the freaking Pistons.
Yeah.
And he wanted
And
to
the
beat Bird.
Pistons
They
wanted
wanted
to
to beat each
and
other.
the Pistons physically wanted to beat Jordan, and they did.
Durant wants
They
to
did.
take one shot at the best team in the league, and then when it doesn't go his way, he wants to get traded.
Right. This is
Durant
why
wants to take one shot with his new team against the best team in the league, and then when it doesn't work out, he wants to get traded.
This is why when people say LeBron, this is not a knock at LeBron. Well, he beat the best team in the NBA. No, he didn't beat the best team. The best team didn't win a championship. Now, Jordan.
Not to mention that Draymond got suspended. They don't want to talk about that.
Jordan
that
had the
critical
72
game
and
5.
10 Bulls. Nobody beat them. That's the best team.
Yeah.
Nobody beat them. They said, no, Jordan was the best team. Nobody beat them.
Yeah, and not for nothing. If
really,
if they were the best team,
Hmm?
then what were they the next 2 years when they kicked his ass?
Right.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
You know, if they're gonna go that hard on the regular season record, I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. Like it's like they're grasping at straws. And Draymond co-signs that crap because he was a member of the Warriors. He was a member of the Warriors. That's why he co-signs that crap.
Yeah.
well,
But the reality is the media don't talk about or any of these memes or any of this crap that tries to sell it. Talk about the fact that Draymond was suspended. If Draymond doesn't get suspended, that series is over within 6.
I think it's gone in 5.
Possibly.
I think it's 5.
Possibly. But the point is they weren't winning.
Yeah, it was over.
Look at the Lakers lineup with LeBron James before the trade deadline and now. Right. You're talking about you now have D'Lo in there, D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah.
And now you have Malik Beasley in there.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you have Huchimama, however you say his name.
Hachimura.
Hachimura, thank you.
Hachimura.
And then Mo Bamba. And then not to mention Kevin Love's about to get bought out by the years.
Yeah, he did he's gone and he'll probably join
he
them.
Get bought out. So
But you know what? He deserved to get bought out because he's one of those guys that actually stuck it out.
Yeah, he did. But a lot of people, my point is, a lot of people will say Kevin Love's not good. That doesn't count. And I'll be like, no, because when he was with Minnesota, he was an all-star
2020
player.
Yeah, he was a
2020 player. Exactly.
He played his part as a number 3 for those Cleveland teams, similar to what Bosh did for Miami.
But no one gives them the credit.
He played his part.
They always say, they didn't do anything. Take Bosh off that team, they don't win a title.
No, God, no.
We see what happened when Love got hurt.
Take weight off that team.
You know what? I always bring up the first year that they got there, when they were down 3-2. They didn't win until Bosh came back. When Bosh got hurt, Boston was running them. Bosh came back in game 6, and they beat Boston, and they went back to
And what about what Dallas did to them? If you look. They bodied them.
That was them.
And I got news for you. That was the big motivation for the Knicks a couple of years later to grab the Tyson Chandler, the Barea, Jake Kidd, bring these guys in. The reason why they wanted to do that is because Miami still had the same core. And if you revisit that season, the one and only season that Jake Kidd was running the offense for the Knicks, we had Miami's number that year. Yep. Unfortunately, Carmelo Anthony busted up his shoulder, and we were eliminated in Indy in 6. But I got news for you.
Smith got in trouble.
Yeah, something new and different.
He did something knuckleheaded. Yeah, and that was it.
But point to be made is, this has just been. It's not the best product when you're constantly changing sets like this. You know, we're gonna keep it on. From the current Mavericks point guard to the former one, Jalen Brunson, how this man's not an all-star is beyond me.
Yeah.
But I got news for you, man. This dude has elevated his game to a level where this is the most excitement the Knicks have had at the point guard position since the 1 year with J Kidd. Mm-hmm. More importantly than that, I think that the Knicks, after a lot of trying times during the first half of inconsistent basketball, I think they're really starting to catch their stride. And I also think that with the blow up in Brooklyn, the Knicks legitimately have a chance to jump up to that 4, host a first-round playoff series. And then you got to ask yourself, can these guys actually make a run? This might be one of those quiet ones where as Knicks fans, we're so traumatized that we can't believe that they could actually win a championship Well, maybe in your, I haven't seen it happen.
You know,
Maybe this might be like the one-off where you're like, wait a minute, did they just get to the finals? Did this really just happen?
I like the pickup with Jalen Brunson, but I didn't think I didn't think he had that much of an impact. Like
No,
I really didn't. I was like, okay, good pickup, but he's actually went in and did the thing.
And as critical as I am of Julius Randle, I must admit that it seems like he's starting to grow into the idea of the 1-2 thing. If RJ Barrett can continue to improve, I mean, I think the sky's the limit for the Knicks. I still want to punch my laptop screen that they didn't trade for Donovan Mitchell. I think about the damage that they could have done if they had him,
because he's showing out in Cleveland.
Yeah, but I got to admit, I like what I'm seeing from the Knicks. You know, it looks like they're starting to really turn the corner and expect to win these games as opposed to being content with competing.
And I'm glad Brooklyn's dead in the water. So, hey.
Oh yeah, beautiful thing.
I think you also need to. I think you also need to look at one big factor for the Knicks, and that was the acquisition of Josh Hart. This team is undefeated since they traded for him.
Defense.
You know, he's been playing phenomenal basketball. His minutes have been up there. He had one game where he scored 28 or something like that, 26.
No, he's been awesome both sides of the floor, and
he's always been a good player.
He's injected a nice energy into the Knicks. The one thing that I was surprised about is that the Knicks didn't move on from either Evan Fournier or D Rose at the deadline. I thought that was a certain thing, but you know what? You have a guy that is still a prolific three-point shooter in Evan Fournier. You have a guy in Derrick Rose that's a former league MVP that even on the bench right now is, so to speak, a spiritual leader for that locker room.
Yeah. And
should an injury occur to one of the 2-point guards in front of him, D Rose is back in the mix. Not that, I don't want to see D Rose on the court, because if he's on the court, that means that something bad happened to somebody else, or that we're winning by 40. So I guess in that regard, that'd be cool. But I do believe that part of the reasoning for keeping D Rose was that leadership, because he's embraced being a mentor even without being on the court, because I know he goes hard in practice. And as far as Fournier goes, I think it was just the kind of deal where you just couldn't get the right partner.
Right.
But, Fournier, you never know, man. This is a guy that's only a year removed from breaking John Stark's franchise record for threes, which is kind of all the more shocking that he's completely just fell out of the rotation. But it speaks to the coach, similar to a Brian Dable. And on the basketball side of things, if you don't play defense, you're not getting the minutes.
And that's Thibodeau's thing. If you can't, look at how we did Knox. You want to play defense?
You don't want to play defense? Bye-bye. And he has – and if you look at the roster 2 years ago in the pandemic era, when we shocked a lot of people, got in. When you look at the roster 1 through 15, 1 through 12, 1 through 15, the reserves, whatever have you, the guys who don't dress, I would say they went from 70% to about 86, 88% of guys that are legitimate defenders now. Right. And the results have been showing.
Yeah. Well, that's always been Tom Thibodeau's mindset.
As it should be. Still works.
It works, exactly. And as far as Rose goes, I think Rose is a similar path to Iguodala. I think his minutes we're going to see him play a little more. And I don't think it's going to be because of injuries. I think it's going to be because of experience. Because once we get into that playoff push, which we're in now, we're in the part
situationally, you're going to see him come in on certain rotational parts where he might surprise you being on the floor, say potentially late in the fourth, where people are like, because to your point, Zap, there is a decent amount of experience there. Fournier, the only way I see him getting back in, it would take an injury or somebody legitimately slumping. Because one thing Fournier still brings is a great shot.
Yep.
Giannis got hurt tonight. This was news to me as I was pulling into the house. Zappy brought this to me. Zappy, what's the deal with this injury, and should the Bucks be worried?
I mean, absolutely, they should be worried. Anytime you hurt anything on your injured shoulder, or you're shooting shoulder, shooting elbow, shooting arm, hand, That's always a worry, especially when it's a superstar like Giannis. Anyways, it was a quick injury. It didn't look as bad as it was, but he went in for a block on, I think it was Kobe White going in for a layup. And when he came down, he missed the backboard and his hand hit the, how do you say it, the stanchion or whatever, the frame that holds the rim. And he came up, he was grimacing in pain. And then he came up, went to the bench holding his right wrist. They immediately took him to the locker room and finished him for the night. I think he only finished with 2 points.
Gotta hope it's just a deep bone bruise.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that right now, Milwaukee, the fans, the team, they're holding their breath. I haven't seen anything about x-rays coming out yet, but it's definitely one of those to monitor. I think we'll know a lot more tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily think it'll be a day-to-day thing. I think we'll see him. If it's minor, I think it'll be a week thing. But thankfully, All-Star Weekend is this weekend.
But it's scary when it comes to wrist injuries, no matter who the player, because Patrick Ewing had a bad fall. Missed roughly 50 or so games, made a return in the playoffs. But Ewing's shot was never the same after that.
No.
I mean, he compensated. He had to change the way he did things. And he still had the heroic series against Miami. And he played on a torn Achilles against Indy. Ultimately, he didn't finish the year. The Knicks won the conference. But, yeah, an injury like that, no matter the player, that is something to worry about because, tendons and everything going with that, players have to make concessions, I mean, little known fact, Michael Jordan permanently hurt his hand when he was a member of the Washington Wizards. That it's like not the most well-known story.
Right.
Yeah, and I have to see how he came down, if he came down with his wrist bending in or if it would bend out.
That is also undeniably a factor.
And but it's just from the camera angle we see, you can't quite tell. So I've been looking for other videos to come out with it, but I haven't seen anything else. But it's just something we know. Yes, the Bucks still beat the Bulls tonight, as they should, because they do have a deep team. Mm-hmm. Lopez is probably the leading candidate to get Defensive Player of the Year this year. You still have Chris Middleton, you still have Holiday, but when you don't have your player in Giannis Antetokounmpo, that takes you from being a championship caliber team to maybe Eastern Conference Finals at best.
Yeah.
So
and not to stretch too, because I don't wish injury on anyone, and I really like Giannis. But one thing I will say, and I've said this to you time and time again as a Knicks fan, I'd rather play Boston than Milwaukee. We do not match up well with Milwaukee. We haven't over the course of the last few years. But the thing is, hypothetically, if Giannis is hurt for real, this could open the door for the Knicks to be a surprise entry in the ECF or maybe a Philadelphia if, Doc Rivers can get over the bad reputation of choking in the playoffs. I don't think that's always fair, but he does have a bit of a reputation when not getting it done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, the only thing to be grateful for is All-Star break is here. So
no doubt.
The Bucks next game, I believe, is the 24th. Unless I don't think they have another game before the All-Star break, but that gives at least 1 week where he can rest his wrist. He does not need to play the All-Star game. We know what he is. We know what he brings to the league. In my opinion, he is the king of the NBA right now, not LeBron James. And there is absolutely no reason. Go out there, you're the team captain, fine. Be there on the bench, have fun. That's what the All-Star game is all about. Having fun.
You just gotta hope. You just gotta hope that it's nothing that can alter his ability. He's such a talented dude that even if there's things that won't be the same, I know that he'll make the compensations to be fine no matter what, because I think he's that kind of player, that kind of character. Before we get out of here for this one, I'm going to take it to the booth for two different people. Tom Brady is going to be bumping out Greg Olsen for Fox's top spot. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, I think Olsen knew that it was kind of like a temporary situation until TB12 ultimately decided. And this is also driven by star power because the rivals, CBS, have Tony Romo.
I like Greg Olsen.
I do too.
I think he did a good job.
He did a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
I would have to say, yeah.
Yeah, I liked him. I
But
really
it's
did.
gotta suck when it's like you ace your job, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing, but it has certain similarities to, in my opinion, when Erin Andrews bumped out Pam Oliver for the same company. I think what frustrated me about that situation, by the way, I want to say I respect both those women. I just want to say that, and I think they're both more than qualified to do what they do.
Right.
But the thing that annoyed me is I don't think Pam Oliver got demoted because of performance.
Right.
She was getting older. Erin Andrews is younger, looks, this and that. I think Erin Andrews has more than paid her way with working hard, and I think Pam Oliver is still a legend. But I must admit that it does annoy me when I see middle-aged Pam Oliver freezing her ass off in Green Bay.
Right.
And Erin Andrews is getting the cool assignment, but it comes with the territory.
Yeah.
That's all I got on that. But we'll see how this plays.
To me, I don't like it. Well, for a couple of reasons. One, yes, he aced his job. Yeah, Tom Brady is the big name. I understand completely. Fox is going to do that because at the end of the day, it's all about ratings.
Absolutely.
But when you look at Greg Olsen, it sucks because he drops from a $10 million salary to $3 million because he is no longer Fox's number one. If I'm Greg Olsen, I'm looking at everything and I'm going to say, okay, Fox has Tom Brady, CBS has Tony Romo, ESPN has Troy Aikman and Joe Buck. What does NBC have? Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth. Get Collinsworth out of there and go to NBC and get
that'll be a victory for all of us.
For all of us.
Yeah, and that one makes sense because now NBC needs that because even with Amazon Prime having Al Michaels.
Say that, and it's funny, man. Because even if we go to the history of NBC, and I'm talking back in the day when it was O.J. Simpson on there, the non-talented Gumble. Sorry, not sorry. It's the truth.
He was so boring, man.
I've always felt that NBC football, going back to the 90s, 80s, and even now that they have football on a different level, not on NBC. Excuse me. Not on the weeklies, like not on Sunday game days.
Yeah.
Nighttime, whatever have you. But I've always noticed that NBC has never truly, like in basketball, they aced every test. I missed the NBA on NBC. That was legendary. Marv Albert, Hannah Storm. You had Ahmad Rashad. You had Dr. J even working for them for a little while. Yeah. That was like top tier. You had the czar of the telestrator, Mike Fratello. It didn't get any better than that.
Mike Fratello, the telestrator. Oh, man. Yeah.
Yeah, that dude was on. They were all awesome. They were all awesome. And then so you mix the NBA on NBC along with my MSG telecast where I get to see Marv Albert and I get to see Walt Clyde Frazier. It don't get any better than that.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that guy was a legend. A total legend.
Look at it.
But the reason,
if I'm Greg Olsen, I leave.
Reason I brought this up is not so much that I necessarily wanted to. Yeah, I think you're right, Zach. You should leave. Yeah. I wanted to transition that into this before we get out as our final thing. Baseball world is remembering Tim McCarver. Yeah. A lot of the younger fans, or maybe guys that may have just seen him on certain YouTube clips, will always remember him because of the heat that he caught with Deion Sanders.
Oh, man.
A lot of people remember that. Yeah. Two things that stand out with me with Tim McCarver, in addition to being a part of some great teams that won world championships, he was a solid player on great teams, but he was a great announcer that really pushed him into that next layer of unforgettable baseball personality. He basically was begging and calling for the Jim Leyritz home run, 1996 World Series.
Yeah.
Series-altering home run. Yankees are down 2-0 after Andrew Jones became the youngest player in World Series history, breaking Mickey Mantle's record of multiple home runs in a World Series. And Atlanta was up 2-0. Mark Wohlers, Jim Leyritz. It literally saved the series. The Yankees did not look back. 1-4. And that was the beginning of their dynasty, altering history because Atlanta looked like it was going to be their decade.
You know something? I don't mean to interrupt you. I still got my Atlanta Braves hat. Now I didn't get it because I was a fan. I got it, and I put, the 4-2, and I tied it to my ankle, and I went to work, and just walked around with it dragging on the floor. And,
damn. Okay.
Yeah, I was brutal back then.
Another thing too. One other call that stands out to me. This wasn't the best feeling, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I've seen a decent amount of World Series in my life, and to be impartial, I think the greatest World Series I've ever witnessed was one that the Yankees actually lost. I'm going to take it to 2001, losing a heartbreaker to the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Yankees were attempting to win their 4th consecutive World Series, which would have joined a 1950s Yankees team, the Montreal Canadiens, the New York Islanders, the Boston Celtics. That's who they were going to be in terms of winning 4 in a row or more. It wasn't meant to be, but once again, the Luis Gonzalez hit, Tim McCarver on the call. That is the most. He did indeed. And there's something to say about being that good at your job. I enjoyed his work with Yankee and Met legends that were in the booth, because Tim McCarver's made his rounds, but he will be missed. He was awesome. Yeah, and
every Saturday, man.
I think as time moves along, I appreciate these guys more, because I realize that, okay, when you look at like the Amazon games or the Apple TV games, I mean, it's cool that they're doing something different, but it ain't that cool.
No.
And then if you look at, I brought this up on shows maybe a month or so ago, how I had such a grand appreciation for being able to listen to a baseball game on the radio, and how good that the announcer had to be to really give you that picture. It was a huge part of time I spent with my grandfather or my dad in the car. Many times. I remember one time we dipped out on a Yankee game early, like early 90s. They're beating the California Angels. I think the score was, if I had to guess, I think we were up like 10-2. We held on 11-10. My dad wanted to get back, so we left like the 6th, 7th, because we felt like we saw our fair share of the ball game because of the beatdown, and my dad had to work a double the next day. So we said, let's go eat, but we'll listen to the rest on the radio. This is real. And they almost came all the way back.
Yeah.
But, in order to keep you engaged, even on a radio game, especially, it's a lost thing because of how many outlets we have now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Best way for me to put it. But rest in peace to Tim McCarver. Life well lived and a job well done.
I mean, he was a great baseball player, 2-time World Series champ, but a Hall of Fame analyst.
Right.
It's just the ones that come to mind are the funny ones. Obviously, the Luis Gonzalez one is epic. 2001, being able to not only watch Luis Gonzalez do it with the D-backs, but
what makes it even more iconic is because of how important that World Series was. It was important for New Yorkers because of the obvious. It was after 9/11.
Yeah.
I look back and say maybe the best team won, maybe the best team didn't. I've been on record in saying in the past that the best team won. I've revisited it, and then I would maybe question my own thing. I think the best 1-2-1. Schilling and Johnson did it. Alfonso Soriano damn near stole that World Series. It wasn't meant to be, and the great Mariano Rivera gives up.
That killed me.
A terrible. It just is what it is. He didn't hit it hard. He didn't hit it well. It just landed in the right spot.
It's just crazy. I mean,
but it was kind of appropriate in a way that New York fell short. But I think the reason why, undeniably, that has to be the most important World Series in my lifetime is because I feel that baseball in general, the Piazza home run was iconic. When the Mets first came back, the first game in New York after the tragedy. But I would also have to go as far as saying that the way the Yankees got there, cheating fate, so to speak, because they should have lost in round 1 if you really want to revisit how they got there. The insane Derek Jeter play.
Yeah.
Beating the Seattle Mariners, who were one of the greatest teams ever, ultimately losing to Arizona in 7. The Jeter home run, Mr. November. I mean, the country needed it. Yankee fans needed it. New York needed it. And quite frankly, I've never been prouder of another team. And no, that's not my favorite Yankee team. Right. Or I don't think they were anywhere near the best Yankee team. But the character they showed. Listen, dude, I'm the furthest thing from a Bush fan. But when George Bush came on the mound and friggin' struck it the way he did, I'm like, bro, that was clutch. And I get it. He was a former ball player.
Yeah.
But when Jeter told him, you better throw that from the mound or else they're going to boo your ass, Mr. President. It don't matter here.
I want fans to go watch 2 interviews by Tim McCarver, and that's the one with Deion Sanders and Darryl Strawberry. 2 separate ones, but Darryl Strawberry's was in '86 when the Mets won the AL East, and Strawberry decides to pour champagne all over him.
He was woo!
And then with Deion Sanders dumping water all over McCarver as well when he was during his short stint.
Lost it.
Yeah. So, if you know, as
I do wonder if they've ever reconciled. I never did know that.
I don't know.
But
I tell people that video, and I'm gonna post it tonight.
No, it's like I tell people anytime there's a famous announcer that passes away, you know, a lot of time they don't know who they are because there's not a lot of people that actually follow sports like that where they can name announcers, they can name everything.
Right.
I always want to point to the funny videos and the great calls, you know, because it's just to witness.
I just pray that Bob Uecker lasts forever, man. Because I'm not gonna insinuate that he's on the level of a Tim McCarver or a Vince Scully.
Bob Uecker
has his place because of just utter humor. That is a funny man. And you got to watch his Hall of Fame induction speech. Getting in on that side, on the media side,
his beer commercials were funny,
bro. His
Uecker, that's
in Cooperstown. In Cooperstown, bro, you got to watch it. It's nonstop. It's like belly laughing. That's dude funny.
With the Jacksonville, I was like, we up here in the Bob Uecker seats.
Yeah. That was we had a good time, man. That was and you know, come to find out, it wasn't like we just went in there and bucked somebody. The Jags actually were a couple of weeks away from turning the corner, winning that division. Gentlemen,
I do want to say something about the
enjoying this, man. Great show tonight.
People who watch baseball, like you're saying, they should listen to a game on the radio.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I listen to like Yankee games. I watch them, but most of my Yankee games, I listen to it on the radio because the color of it is just like.
And I'll be honest, man. If Costas is doing a game on like Fox or whatever, or TBS or wherever they throw him, he kind of like works for everybody. It seems.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah,
I get it, and he has his place, and he's a legend in his own right. He is.
Yeah.
But, bro, the way he overemphasizes, overanalyzes the drama. I'm like, bro, you can't pour from an empty cup. Enough already. Just call the game, dude. Call the game.
Yeah, let's call the game, man.
Let's call the game. Enough.
Yeah, I'm done with Costas.
Yeah, I can't with him anymore. I used to like him back in the day with the NBA, and I think that's where his peak was.
Yeah,
but some of it is just too much, bro.
I goes overboard, man.
With that guy.
Yeah,
but
I like John Sterling.
John Sterling's another one.
To me, Bob Costas is too much of a politician. That's what I think of whenever I think of him as an announcer. Like he's got the political sound to him, and it just like, come on, man.
Like
you know,
right.
Yeah. You're doing baseball, man. Yeah, you're doing baseball.
He's too much. Like the way he talks, you would think that he was talking about Field of Dreams.
Right.
You know, you think he's talking about the Sandlot. I'm like, bro, just call the fucking game, please. And I'm not apologizing for the curse because it was appropriate for that.
Call the game.
Yeah, I'm gonna apologize for that one. Anything you boys want to say on our way out of here?
Just look up the Tim McCarver videos with Strawberry and especially Deion Sanders.
I think the one thing that I find interesting, this is off topic, but still Major League Baseball news, that Major League Baseball came down on, but on Luis Garcia telling he cannot no longer do his rock a baby pitching motion.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's his motion. And now we can't even see it like that. He wasn't doing it. I mean, obviously it turned into a lot of fun last year, but that's how he did his windup. I don't think that you should be telling pitchers you have to change your windup because of little things. Oh, players are having fun with it. Who cares? That's what he grew up doing.
I since you're on the topic of that, the Ghost Runner, it's here to stay. It's because of time. I know the motivation, and I'll be honest. It's a rule that I love sometimes because sometimes it means a quick win. But from a purity standpoint of what the game's supposed to be, it is hella annoying in the grander scheme of things. Not quite as annoying as a doubleheader that features 2 7-inning games. That was the worst. That was the friggin' worst. And I get it. It was a pandemic year. They had to make a lot of concessions. I understand that.
That's minor league baseball.
Yeah, I hear that. Complete 360. Final thing. Where is Rocky? Sylvester Stallone will not be in Creed 3. Doesn't mean that he's killed off. It was a creative difference between he and the writers. I'm mixed emotion on it. I feel that it's a good way for Michael B. Jordan to enhance the Creed character and to enhance the future of the franchise, because at the end of the day, this is Creed, not Rocky. Right. But do you think that this is going to be, how would you say, lacking some fights, no pun intended, not having Stallone in this thing? Or do you think it's Michael B. Jordan could man this down and do the job?
I think he's already manned it down. Yeah. I think Michael B. Jordan has taken on that role and made Creed his. It's almost it's not to the point where people are going to forget about Rocky, but
never that.
He needs to have his
yes, it's time for him to. It's time for him to evolve. Because I was seeing people getting in their feelings. Oh, they're going to kill. First of all, they're not killing him off. He might be back for another.
He'll come back in 4 or 5.
Yeah.
But Michael B. Jordan has more than taken on the role, and I mean he is really taking.
And if you follow the last Creed movie, they left it in a way where Rocky was kind of getting away because he was trying to spend more time with his fictional son.
Yeah.
Because for some of you who don't know, Sage, his real son, may he rest in peace, was actually in part 5. But unfortunately, he passed away in his 30s. So when they rebooted, not rebooted, but when they brought back like Rocky Balboa, when he fought Antonio, that was done really well and overachieved my expectations. And I must admit, as did Creed. But this Creed series is damn good, and I'm looking forward to this. I really am, and I don't think the loss of Stallone is going to hurt as bad. And not to mention, Stallone's killing it on Tulsa King. He's doing a great job there.
Yeah. No, I think it's the right thing to do. I think Michael B. Jordan has more than earned the right to be on his own with this series, and I'm sure they're going to not pay homage, but I'm sure they're going to have more situations where we're going to see flashbacks of Creed's father and Rocky or something like that down the road. But no, it's not the end. They're not killing him off like you said. It's just it's allowing Michael B. Jordan to have his platform and people to understand that while Rocky had his movies and Rocky was the star of those, Michael B. Jordan, Creed, those are his. And they're not changing anything about the story. It's just now he's writing his story. He's getting to finish off his career as a great boxer, and hopefully we'll see what happens with this next one coming out, because I'm excited about it.
This got me going, and I want to tell the viewers before we get out of here that I want us to do a movie show. This was something that we almost got done some months back. Unfortunately, we weren't able to. For sure. Yeah, movie show in the near future, and look for this coming Sunday. We have our all-time NFL franchises show, which will be airing this Sunday to kind of give football the proper send-off. It just doesn't make sense if we didn't drop that show on a Sunday. So that's what we intend on doing.
Right.
But for my guys, Mr. Idris Salam and Mr. Michael Zappy, I am your host, Richie, and I appreciate you guys hanging out late with us. Have a great night. And by all means, no, look at him. He's getting ready. By all means, drop us some thoughts on what you want.
Glasses. I got to watch that, man.
Yeah. Till next time, we are out.